Hey everyone, Tactics here, and in this video I'm going to be giving you guys my first impressions of the new encrypted seasonal affix, which just went up on the PTR last night, including how it currently works in its first iteration, what you get out of doing it, and how this could affect both pug keys, your weekly 15s, and also high key push groups. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like it, including things coming up like a full Tazavesh Mythic Plus guide, and of course, Season 3 routes coming soon. And let's just start off with what the heck is encrypted. Basically, every single boss in a dungeon, as well as many of the trash packs throughout the whole dungeon, will be accompanied by 3 different relic adds. These are extremely low HP mobs that don't really do much besides each having a passive aura, and when all 3 relics have been killed, they'll spawn an Atoma add. This is just another mob, and this is going to be spawning depending on which relic you killed first. Again, these Atoma mobs are decently low HP, not quite as low as the relics themselves, but they're not anything crazy like the Tormented mobs or even Prideful from Season 1, though they do each have one-ish ability you want to be aware of, and once you kill this mob, your entire party will get a 45-second buff depending on which mob it was. So, going through the individual relics and mobs they spawn, the Vi relic passively just increases the haste of all the enemies in the pack, and then if it's killed first, it'll spawn the Vi interceptor add, and this interceptor add just kind of does random target damage, and it'll occasionally do a line attack you want to dodge, and if you kill him, your entire party will get a 45-second, 25% increased CDR buff. Next, the Woe relic has a 15% reduced damage taken aura around it and spawns the Woe Drifter if killed first. And this guy has an AoE damage cast. You need a kick, and he'll give you a 45-second, 20% haste buff. So far, a couple nice buffs. Lastly, the relic just pulses for party damage while it's alive and spawns the Dismantler when it's the first to die, which has a little smash attack you just want to avoid, as well as a tank buster. On death, this guy gives you a 45-second, 150% move speed increase, and if it's the last mob to die in a pack, it gives everyone 10 seconds of stealth during that move speed. So this is very, very interesting. It lets you skip mobs here without needing to use an invis pot, or without needing a rogue in your group for Shroud. Overall, looking at these buffs, definitely some interesting gameplay opportunities here. Haste is just the great set it, forget it option. Don't think about it, just get the haste buff. Everyone benefits partially some way from haste, so that's a great just pug option, right? Both CDR and stealth, on the other hand, interesting options in coordinated groups depending on both your team comp and what dungeon you're in, which I look forward to experimenting with. There are a few things I want to note with how the mobs and buffs currently work on the PTR. This may or may not go live again. This is the first iteration of the affix on the PTR, so if future update videos, I'll let you know if any of this changes. But as of now, these buffs are stackable, right? So if you chain these relic packs into something like bosses, or even just 2 trash packs back to back that have relics, you can get multiples of these haste CDR buffs, and you can just absolutely blast with them. Also, right now, the relics themselves, they're attached to the trash pack, but they're not attached to each other. So what that means, basically, if you want to pull an individual relic, it'll pull the pack with it. So for example, I want the haste buff, so I tag the Woe relic first because the Woe relic needs to die first for you to get the haste buff mob, and that'll pull the pack with it, but it won't pull the other 2 relics. The other 2 relics will just stay off the pack. Again, this may change, right? This may not be intended, but that's currently how this works. So you can kind of guarantee, okay, only the Woe relic is in the pack, so I know it's going to die first. And then you can pull the other 2 relics in whenever you're ready to spawn that Woe add. Adding on to this, though, you can use the same strategy to kind of bank these buff mobs leading up to either a dangerous pull or a boss, killing only a single relic in all these packs leading up to the boss, and then once they're all dead, you just pull all those relics together, kill them, spawn all those mobs at the same time, and either kill them alone or pull them directly onto the boss as well, and just cleave them down with the boss, and then just get super powered up as you're killing the boss just to take it down super quickly. Just lots of potentially really cool and interesting ways on how you can tackle these buffs. I also should note that each instance of these buffs is its like own entity. So like if you get 2 haste buffs, for example, the second one doesn't refresh the first one. They're both separate 45-second buffs. So you'll benefit from both, but one of those is going to expire sooner. If you get it like 20 seconds earlier, that's just going to be gone and you're going to have 25 seconds of just having one haste buff kind of deal. So the effects stack, but they don't refresh each other. So how do I think this is going to affect your average player just kind of pugging weekly 15 keys? Honestly, not very much, at least with current tuning. This seems to be an affix that you can pretty much just forget about on the like mid to low level keystones and not worry about min-maxing at all. Maybe at most just trying to kill the woe relic first every time to get you that generic haste buff as much as possible, and you'll just be able to kind of blast through the dungeon without giving it a lot of thought. It's not going to punish butt pulling or suboptimal routing like Prideful did in Season 1, and there aren't any high HP dangerous mini bosses that you may want to root around, just like in Tormented, right? You can just kind of blast these low HP mobs, get a nice buff, and then keep going. I think this might actually be the easiest season of the expansion to get things like KSM or your plus 20 dungeon teleport, so that's always a great thing for people pushing those keystone levels. When it comes to higher level keys, this is going to get a whole lot more interesting. Right off the bat, rogues probably feeling a little bit in danger of losing their meta spot thanks to that free shroud buff from the relic. Though to be fair, whenever you choose to take the buff over either of the other relics, you are losing damage, of course, and also there's only so much trash you can skip in a specific dungeon, so I think rogue is still going to be just fine. You might see it rotated out in something like the Great Push, but for live keys where you kind of have to pick one character and set it, I think rogue is going to be pretty safe still, but it does sort of level the playing field a little bit between groups that have one and groups that don't in terms of what you can and can't skip and root around. Like I mentioned earlier as well, banking and stacking these buffs up to use before a big pull, a hard pull, or a boss is something I'm sure is going to happen with how all the relics are positioned, and of course they're always being relics on a boss, especially if this buff remains stackable, and something that will certainly help groups kind of push the limit on higher tyrannical keys. Currently, I mean, it's been out 1 day, up in the air whether haste or CDR is going to be better for damage. I'm really interested to see if there are any specs that can just kind of pop up and really abuse that CDR though, because that's something that always is really interesting to see that how different specs interact with that CDR. Talking about tanks in particular for a second here, many of them have a lot of shorter CD abilities and cooldowns that also interact with their tier. Barkskin for Guardian Druids, for example, Avatar for Protection Warriors, right? This could be very valuable, but obviously at the end of the day, doesn't really matter what's best for the tank in high-end keys. You just want it whatever gives the most damage. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Overall, I think this affix is really cool. It's easy to deal with in pugs, and it can allow coordinated groups to do some crazy things just to get the most out of the buffs that it provides. Personally, I'm really happy with how this is looking, and I'm excited and optimistic for patch 9.2 and Shadowlands Season 3. But I want to hear what you guys think. What are your thoughts on this new seasonal affix? How do you think it compares to both Prideful and Tormented? Let me know down in the comments below. Also, be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel for more Mythic Plus related content. That is it for this one though. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.